Honorable Professor Dr. Raka Arya ji and Swami Bhumanand ji, Bhumanand Saraswati ji have already arrived with us. मैम, स्वामी जी, मैं आपका तहे दिल से धन्यवाद करता हूँ कि आपने अपने कुछ बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण लम्हे हमें सौंपे. धन्यवाद.
Thank you.
Audience members, I would like to please bring a round of applause for our both chief guests who have arrived with us today. The author and main speaker of today's evening has arrived with us. I would request each and every person to please stand on the places and welcome Madam Vijayalakshmi Vijayakumar. We have seen that these tales have shaped societies, communities, nations. They became catalysts in bringing of freedom to chain nations or have the voices of several people, speechless people. My name is Pahel Devre, and on behalf of the Young Thinkers Forum, I welcome you all to this enlightening evening, the book launch of Forever There, Katha Parampara, by Srimati Vijayalakshmi Vijayakumar. I would request each and every audience members to please bring a round of applause for this marvel. Time has the power to mend appearances, wealth and fame, but it always bends its knees in front of amazing personality. This quote indeed holds relevance in today's context, as the gravity of this evening has shifted to make this evening a prestigious one, as it kneels down in front of the brightest personalities we have in our house. Mannya Vijayalakshmi Vijayakumar ji, the wise word weaver I call, and the author of Forever There. Ma'am, Vijayalakshmi Vijayakumar is director of Center of Soft Power and founder, secretary of Heritage Parampara, a non-profit trust. She has flown powered aircraft, played state-level softball, a brilliant Bharatanatyam dancer. She often gives talks on culture and heritage. Or she has also organized conferences, been on the Central Film and Censor Board, the National Advisory Board of LT, and is a freelance designer and copywriter too. Heritage Trust conducts 2 annual event festivals, Guriya Sambrama and Shrishti Sambrama. Another festival was conducted in 2018 was the Heritage Drive, an 1100 kilometers motor sport rally that took participants to heritage temples and included tree plantation. She's a phenomenal storyteller and is currently working on her upcoming novel based on historical events in India. Ma'am, we welcome you and request you to please be seated. Another guest we have with us, Professor Dr. Raka Arya, our chief guest. Professor Raka Arya is professor in the National Law Institute University and is also the Dean of Student Welfare. She is the Professor of Political Science. Our honorable guest has had 18 years of teaching experience with 3 years as a professor in the esteemed Vasanta College of Women in Varanasi. She has specializations in political science, administrative and constitutional law, air and space law. She also has a PhD, French Policy of National Nuclear Independence, its rationale and relevance to India from JNU, New Delhi. She has a number of publications from electoral reforms to media mapping and from gender issues to European defense system. We wholeheartedly welcome you, ma'am. Now, we have a marvel of personality, Swami Bhumanand Saraswati ji. Swami ji, आपके गुरु श्री स्वामी दयानंद सरस्वती जी, आप वेदांत, अद्वैत वेदांत पे बहुत ज़्यादा गहन करते हैं और सिखाते भी हैं. Now, I would like to call Jai Ved Parashar to please be on the stage. I would like to call Professor Dr. Arya ma'am to please come up on the stage and welcome our speaker of this evening, Mannya. Ma'am, please. Mannya Srimati Vijayalakshmi Vijayakumar ji. This story, personally for me, talks about how we as a society were kept away with our deities, with our gods. How we faced a mass hysteria of complete dissolution and disembodiment from our deities, from the spiritual head of ourselves. I would like to call Yageshwari ji to please bring books for the launch. And that is presented to us by Vijayalakshmi Vijayakumar ji. The book was published and presented by Indica, a platform of Indic Academy to promote culture. It also holds a big name in the Indian knowledge system. We all thank Indica for the publishment of this great book. Now, I would request...
Hi, this is Vijayalakshmi Vijayakumar. so I got really shocked the next day. तो फिर मैम बताते हैं कि आशुतोष जी से नंबर मिला. फिर उसके बाद she talked about the book. So the book revolves around the place you guys are very familiar with, Kashi. बनारस भी उसको हम कहते हैं, वाराणसी भी उसको हम कहते हैं. तो my very first question now that the central focus of the book is the place Kashi and the Kashi Vishwanath temple. You have shown the dedication and love of people towards the Kashi Vishwanath temple and the deity, the main deity, and how the Bhagwan Shiv has played an so important role in the life of people of Kashi, not only in Kashi but whole of Bharat. And how beautifully you have described the whole weaving tradition which was going on in Kashi at that time, and the family and the description of Haveli and all these things. We people sitting very far away from Banaras, वहाँ का culture, वहाँ की vibes या वहाँ का रहना या जो ढंग है वो यहाँ बैठ के हम नहीं imagine कर सकते. वो काशी में जाके, बनारस में जाके ही हम उस भगवान को feel कर सकते हैं. So, what is the significance of Kashi in your life, in our life, in the life, in people of Bharat, and also in the life of people living in nearby areas, the Banaras and the whole region, and its impact on the Bharati civilization also, the Vishwanath temple impact.
Namaskar. You can hear me in the back. I'd first like to start with a small chanting and then I'll speak. Agajanana Padmarkam Gajanana Maharnisham Anekadantam Bhaktanam Ekadantam Upasmahe Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambam Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatume Svata या देवी स्तूयते नित्यं विबुधैर्वेदपारकैः सा मे वसतु जिह्वाग्रे ब्रह्मरूपा सरस्वती सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. At the outset, I'd like to thank Ashutosh, who's not here today, and the rest of the YTF team for arranging this and for being such hospitable and courteous hosts. And I must say I'm very thrilled that Madam is here and that Swamiji is here, because I have also grown up with Swami Chinmayananji and with Swami Dayan Saraswati, and in fact I had called Swami Aishwaryananji. He said he just left from here day before yesterday. He said, I don't think I can come back today. So I'm so happy that you're here, Swamiji, because I realized that a lot of my thinking or a lot of what I have written in the book is directly or indirectly influenced by how I have grown up with the Swamijis, who instilled a lot of love for my country and culture and the courage to stand up for it. So if you look at the characters that I've written, that's what I think will come out. I hope that's what you take when you read. So he asked me what the importance of Kashi is. If you look even today, even in weddings in South India, Kashi plays a role. So when the bridegroom is just before the wedding, the bridegroom says he's leaving for Kashi, and then the bride's father will come and stop him and say, please don't go, you know, I have a beautiful daughter, get married, don't go away to Kashi. Any of the stories you read, people always went to Kashi to learn, because that was the seat of learning. That was the seat of jnana. And why I call the book Forever There is what is very important to me, because whether there is a temple, whether there is no temple, whatever happens, Vishwanath is there. And he's not just there, he's here, there, and forever there. Which always makes me remember what Swami Dayananda was always said. He said, we are not a one God religion, we are an only God religion. Because for us, complete Srishti, everything is only Bhagavan. So when I say Kashi, what my experience of Kashi was first, but I'll also say that there was really no connection between my writing the story and my having visited Kashi. Because people who want to write ask me this question about, so when you want to be a writer, how did you do the plot? They ask me all these questions and I tell them, I'm really sorry, I have no answer for this question because this story just happened. And in fact, I just had a book launch in Varanasi day before yesterday, and they asked me, they said, why did you choose Kashi? I said, I didn't choose Kashi, Kashi chose me. So I really don't have an answer for that. So, but my physical experience of Kashi happened when we went to the Kumbh Mela. That was more than 25 years back, I think. That was when the 144th year Kumbh Mela happened. And now people go to Kumbh Mela more from the south than they did then. My husband would always ask me when he traveled, do you want to come? And normally the answer was no. And then he said, I'm going to Kanpur. Then when I saw the dates, I said, I want to come to Kanpur. He said, so many nice places I asked you and you don't want to come, and now you want to come to Kanpur, because Kanpur at that point was a very dusty town with hardly anything, and in fact dacoits going around. And so we went, he said, I knew there was something there. I said, I want to go to the Kumbh Mela. Because even that I don't know, it's not that I thought about it and planned, when he said Kanpur, I said I want to go to Kumbh Mela. So we went, and I'm not too comfortable in very big crowds, so they said, oh, there'll be crowd. I said, it doesn't matter, I want to go to the Kumbh Mela, and that's it. So we went to the Chinmaya Mission and we told them, is there any way of going, without really getting into the crowd? So they said, take a boat and go. So I thought that was a very bright idea. Okay, boat, nobody will be there. And of course, there were many other people also. But when we went on the boat, of course, you have this imagination of how the boat will be. There'll be a deck below and all this kind of imagination, because they said, bring your change of clothes. So we went, and you know how cold it is at that time of year. And he said, okay, snan kijiye. So nothing, we just got in and jumped. See, why I'm telling you this, that was a moment of thoughtlessness. There was absolutely no thinking, how is the water, is it flowing, will I be able to get in, nothing, we just jumped in, that was it. And that experience is something that is beyond words. And then when we got back on, after climbing back onto the boat is when I realized how cold it was, because you're in cotton clothes, all shivering, and then I thought, now where am I going to change? I tried to look and see if there was a deck below, there was nothing below. So then the boatman said, kya problem hai aapko? So he had two huge saris. He told my husband, you hold this side, I'll hold on this side. I said, okay, changed. After that, we went into the town. That was a different experience. And then when we went to Varanasi, again that was a moment of thoughtlessness, because I did not look at that point in time. Even now Varanasi is quite a crowded, and it's okay, physically it's quite a messy place. But there was something that I felt that I cannot explain that really had an effect on me. I said, all the stories I've read, everything I've read about Kashi, 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 I know why it is now. Because this is a place that you connect to without the physical connection. It's not a physical connect, but it's more of a beyond words connect. And then we saw these Naga sadhus. And the energy that they exude was unbelievable. So probably that's the reason why they came in my book also. And of course they did, save the first attempt of Aurangzeb was stopped by the Dashnamis. So that is why I think. And I think Kashi as a center of learning is very important. And I think that should not go. Because our whole country revolves around learning. Because like Swamiji always said, we are not a faith-based, we are not a belief system, we are a knowledge and understanding system. So a lot of problems happen when we do not have understanding and when we do not have knowledge.
So true. Exactly, that is what I felt when I went to Banaras. And it has its own great implications and importance, and also impact on the Bharati civilizations, which I felt. So my next question is, ma'am, according to me, I have watched so many fictional movies and books I read. But I think writing the fictional part of any story, or anything, writing the fiction is the most difficult task, because it involves your observation skills, your creativity, which should be at peak, and your dedication towards the fiction and all other things, and also your knowledge. So which you have done really fantastically by amalgamating the actual history with the fiction, so that people will be able to reevaluate कि हाँ क्या चल रहा है इस time पे, and the actual history also, that the Aurangzeb is attacking right now, and the four were saving the Kashi Vishwanath temple. So that was really nicely done, which I think lacks in the Indian writers, the real fictional things. So and also the difference of the people, though वो fictional का जो creativity है वो कहाँ से आती है exactly, it happens over the time, या फिर वो लिखते टाइम involvement इतना होता है उस phase में?
So I have grown up reading Ramayana, Mahabharata, Srimad Bhagavatam, and a lot of Indian stories. So going into the imaginary world has not been difficult for me at all, because basically I think the TV has stolen that sense of imagination. Because when you read, you can imagine, but when you watch, there's nothing for you to imagine. So I have grown up imagining things a lot, and so I actually never had a problem about writing about things that do not appeal to the rational mind. If you read Mahabharata, there are some places where there is no how of it, the why of it. You just accept it. So I had no issue, and also I've been quite a storyteller to my grandchildren, and my granddaughter, of course, likes Krishna stories, and even now she's 11, she still wants only Krishna stories. But my grandson got very stuck to the Dhruva story. And then he would say, now I want Dhruva to be 16 years old. So I have no objection to reinventing our Pauranic stories, but I do not appreciate it when they change the character of the person. So even if I told him how Dhruva was 16 years old, and even if a flying car or a robo or interstellar whatever travel came, Dhruva always did only good things. Dhruva would always pray. Only if he prayed to Vishnu Bhagwan, he would get that strength. And he could not use any of it for himself. It had to be only for the protection of Dharma. So sometimes I would leave that out and start. Then my grandson would say, no, but he didn't pray to Vishnu, then he can't do anything. So I said, if that much has gone in, it's good. So I should thank my grandchildren for, making me very creative, because when it was my children, it was more, to the Ramayana and Mahabharata, and, I kept it to that. But, so.
Actually, I think children are more creative than the people of our age or ethnicity.
See, because they are not afraid, they don't want to rationalize everything. No, they have imagination. So their imagination is free. So they can accept. But we will want to rationalize, we will want to know how, why did it happen. So it doesn't matter if your mind goes into some kind of a fantasy for some time with your 2 feet on the ground.
So true. You described about the title. That how did you come up with the title, The Forever There, and also the cover photo? Because it is very subtle, but also very implied. वो बहुत चीजें implied भी कर रहा है, and it is also a very subtle title, and also the cover photo. It's not बहुत रंग बिरंगा type का and all. It's very plain. We have Shivling and the title Forever There. मतलब, how did you come up with this?
Because when I go to a bookstore and I look at a lot of covers, they're very loud, and more often than not, they're not actually showing what the story is about. So in fact, people said, oh, you're putting a shivling there, will people buy it? I said, for me, the object is I write. After that, whoever has to read it, it will go. Wherever it has to go, it will go. I said, what is a story like this if Bhagwan Shiva is not there? So that's the reason why. And the forever there is, like I said, because for us there is no separation between Ishvara and creation. So it is always forever there.
It will be now. Also, when I was reading the book, when I was reviewing it once, I already told you I got very emotional. And while when the climax happens in this story, when Somnath Baba hugged that shivling and he drowned in the well with that shivling, you have very beautifully described it, the details and the emotions involved in that process. So when we remember the history of Kashi, it was very glorified. And also at that point of time, when the shivling was drowning into the Gyan Vapi well, all of them, the people around that well, and Somnath Baba started imagining the glorified Kashi, when there were people involved in decoration of temples and protecting the temples and everything. For you, what were the emotions involved while writing the book? Matlab, how were the process involved in this writing of the book? You have described the emotions like sadness very well, happiness also, guilt also, and enjoyment also. Hatred भी है कि invaders आ रहे हैं. They have the hatred towards the religion of the Bharat. So what were your emotions involved? And while writing each emotions, what was going in back of your mind?
To me, the story was very true. So every emotion was something that I felt. So when Somnath Baba jumped into the well with Shivji, I imagined if I was in a situation like that, that's exactly what I do, because I wouldn't give up on whatever I had. To me, that was very important. So if you ask me how I thought about it, like I said again, I didn't really think about it. Because to me, writing is not a process of thinking and writing. Like most writers do, they think about the plot and then they decide how it should be and how it should move. For me, I never did that, because my intention was not to be a writer. My intention was not to make a story. I just wrote whatever I felt. And from time to time, whenever I felt like I wanted to write, that's when I wrote. Which is more, should I say, not literally only emotion based. It's not that I didn't read about the situation historically. But once I read historically, after that it was nothing to do with my thinking about every plot. it just came. Somebody asked me about, oh, the names you have chosen are so apt to it. But that's because, like I said, I've grown up reading Ramayana, Mahabharata, listening to Swamiji's discourses. My whole life has been filled like that. So these are all very cultural for us. Names are very important for us.
Like Ashwapati for
Yes, like Ashwapati or Sahadeva or any of the names, because those are very important to us. Unfortunately, today the name and the person are getting disconnected. So.
Also, ma'am, two of your favorite characters. The best thing about the story is lot of fictions has a protagonist and a villain, but in this story you have so many heroes and so many protagonists. So, who among them is your favorite character and why? Two of them favorite character. Not favorite, but anything like you involved writing. जो भी है.
I don't like favoritism.
that is what
I like all the characters, and if you notice, each of them has a different quality. I've not made any two the same. I like Sundari because she's a very forthright girl, but I also like Ganga and Gauri because they're thinkers. I like Vishnu because he's so particular about parampara, and he's the one who's totally convinced about what he's doing. Because the rest of them had a doubt, but he didn't.
He was wholly dedicated.
He was convinced. So that is exactly what I remember once when Swami Chinmayananda, somebody was asking him some doubts. Then he said, ask away. He said, but remember one thing. At the end, it has to be what you think. It should not be, Swamiji told me to do this. He said it has to be where you have thought, analyzed, torn it apart, and then it should become yours. So out of the characters, the only person who had totally done that was Vishnu. So that's why he was very much at peace with himself.
The story has around 40 to 45 characters. It has a lot of characters, a lot of viewpoint, and a lot of emotions and everything. And you won't be able to find a single protagonist. आप ढूंढते रह जाओगे हीरो कौन है, हीरो कौन है, हीरो कौन है, आपको हीरो नहीं मिलेगा. So that is the beauty. That is why she said कि favoritism पसंद नहीं उन्हें. Books में भी उन्होंने favoritism नहीं करा है.
So I have to, in fact, the first editor that Indica Publications suggested to me was a professor from Stanford University. And the third comment he gave me was, he said, see, I think you should think about not having so many protagonists, or if you still want them, in different phases, somebody should be the protagonist and you should reduce the role of the others. Then I said, I've grown up reading Ramayana and Mahabharata with so many protagonists, so many heroes. So I immediately told them, I said, I don't want this editor because I'm never going to accept what he says and I'm not going to make that change. Because I think we are used to large families, we are used to a lot of people, and in a family each person has a different role. Though there may be one person who's a little bit of a leader, but everybody has a voice. So I said I really don't want to change that. So.
This is your contribution in reviving the Katha Parampara traditions we had in Bharat before. So, what are your views on the Katha Parampara tradition which has gone? And also, how can we as an audience and you as a writer, or we as a writer in coming decades, can contribute to this thing, Katha Parampara?
See, in fact, why I wrote this book the way I did is because I found my grandson reading this book, Percy Mason, I think it is. And it's all about the Greek gods. So one day he was telling me, reeling off about the Greek gods. And I said, so where did you learn all this from? He said, no, I'm reading this book. This is how Zeus is, he eats up his own children. And then I said, well, we have Amarchitra Kathas. I'm talking more about the English people now, because if you don't write in English, you don't read in English, you're not smart enough, unfortunately. So I said we actually need to create a lot of material that the young adult or the adult or even the grown up, because somebody asked me, is this a children's book? I said, it's a book for everybody. I said, even old people like to listen to stories. I mean, I enjoy reading stories. And I said, I wanted to make it where there is some learning, but still not obviously. And that's why I made the glossary very detailed, because there are things that I definitely wanted people to know about Kashi, about Gangaji, about even about the Banaras weaves. So that's why I made the glossary, which is quite a big glossary. And I also took permission from Professor P.B. Rana to publish his whole write-up on Kardameshwar, because Kardameshwar is the only temple that stands. Was not broken down and destroyed and built again. And the other thing that I really love about our country is the resilience that we have. Multiple times our temples have been broken, but we have raised them up again. And the other thing that I really appreciate about us is that whatever they have done, we don't nurse hatred against anybody. But that has also been a little bit of a downfall for us, because somewhere, Gandhiji's principle of, strike your right cheek, show your left cheek doesn't work. Because I believe in what Krishna said, you stand up for your dharma. And I always value what Swami Dayananda Saraswati said, that you have to protect the dharmi for dharma to be there. So we need to do that. We need to protect our dharmis. Otherwise, where is the dharma going to be? Dharma is just a word. And today I also find people using the word dharma so flippantly. I mean, that's a word that you can't hear? Where you can't really use without a thought process.
One of the best thing about this whole book and this story is your focus on the values inculcated by the joint family. If you will read the book, joint family का अलग एक importance बताया गया book में. And the tolerant behavior each member of the family has towards each other, and how they held meetings together when the situation gets worse. They held meeting together, and even the youngest member of the family has its own view, और उसका view सुना जाता है joint family में भी और माना भी जाता है. तो how do you think that this system, the whole system of joint family, should revive? And India, Bharat currently is driving towards the concept of nuclear family because of some cities allocated the industries. So people are getting more into the nuclear family things. And how do you think that, is it feasible to have a nuclear family, or the joint family concept is more great?
See, the joint family concept certainly is most important, because in the nuclear family the people who suffer most are the little children and the older people, because somewhere we are also going into that zone of sending away elders to old age homes. Yes, they will say that, then suddenly people become very shastric. They'll say Vanaprastha, Sannyasa. Vanaprastha need not necessarily be where you have to go to a forest, you have to have that detachment. So it used to be where when the new generation comes up, the older ones step back. But when they stepped back, they were there for the grandchildren. Because there's a lot that grandchildren learn from grandparents, which they do not learn from parents. And also if you look at it, the way materialism has become so important now, where there was one house, when there was a new married couple, you increase one room. But now you increase one house. And then you just constantly are taking away from Mother Nature. More and more, more and more. That's why our cities are so crowded. Everything is so crowded. Versus being adjusting. And that whole concept of sharing, caring, a little bit of adjustment is gone. So we are becoming very intolerant. And intolerant of diversity also. So 90% or 99% of problems happen because of intolerance and non-acceptance of diversity. So I think the extended family concept is very important, because economically also, maybe economically the finance minister will think that it's better to have more families because there's more money spent. But personally, I don't think that's the right way to think about it.
Yes, ma'am. So you have been very detailed mentioned about the Haveli. So Haveli was a place where the weavers community used to live, and it was a well protected area. 2-3 walls के साथ, and it was really protected, and there were so many people involved in that place. There was Bhim who used to cook food. There was Ashwapati जो horses का ध्यान रखते थे, and there were one person who used to teach children Kalari Pattu, the art. There were so many people. The family has its own mini family and then the extended family. So, and they all were living inside that Haveli only. So if someone will read that book और मतलब आप बहुत अच्छे से imagine कर पाएंगे, it will feel like कि आपके सामने वो फोटो एक खड़ी हो गई हवेली की, and you will start imagining all that thing. So what मतलब how did you got to मतलब अभी जैसे मुझे नहीं दिखता ऐसा कुछ हवेली जैसा कॉन्सेप्ट, तो मैं अगर लिखूंगा कुछ चीज को, I won't be able to describe हवेली so well. आपके इंस्पिरेशन में वो कहाँ से आया? मतलब आपने पहले बोला कि आप सोचते नहीं हो लिखते थे, but
so like I said, I mean, if you read Mahabharata and you read about the palace of Indraprastha, so that's why I said, if you do not watch a TV or a movie and you read it, then you imagine it. So that's what gives your mind a chance to imagine. So I read and reread and reread and read Mahabharata, Ramayana and the Bhagavatam. So I have good imagination.
That's okay.
अच्छा, एक कहावत है, कहते हैं कि भावुकता से कर्तव्य ज्यादा बड़ा होता है, और कर्तव्य हमेशा बलिदानों से निपटता है. आप बलिदान करेंगे अपने कर्तव्य के लिए, तभी वो कर्तव्य निभेगा. You have very well explained these things in the book. कर्तव्य निभाना, बलिदान देना, और how your कर्तव्य is bigger than the sentiments involved in the process. जब आप अपनी फैमिली को छोड़ के बाहर जाते हैं तो वहाँ सेंटिमेंट्स इन्वॉल्व होते हैं, पर आपका कर्तव्य ज्यादा बड़ा होता है कि आपको बाहर जाना होता है. इसलिए प्रभु श्री राम के बारे में कहते हैं कि when he was in Ayodhya, he was Ram, but when he went into the forest, और 14 साल बाद जब वो वापस होते हैं, he became Lord Ram, Prince Ram, भगवान श्री राम. तो उसके बाद सोमनाथ बाबा का जो आपने बताया है कि how he relieved people, and also there are 9 children in the family, and the 4 of them went into training in another consciousness. So the whole family gets emotional कि कहाँ गए बच्चे, सारे कहाँ गए. So that's when the Somnath Baba, the deity of the not the deity, the pujari of the Kashi Vishwanath comes into the family, and he tells the family that the children are safe. उसके बाद भी उनकी जो माँ है, जो उनके साथ रहते हैं और भी लोग हैं, वो इमोशनल हो जाते हैं, वो फियर करने लगते हैं कि वेयर आर द चिल्ड्रंस. तो वहाँ पे एक भावुकता वाला जो फेज है वो आ जाता है लोगों के मन में. ऐसे मैं भी जब बाहर जाता हूँ तो मेरी माँ के मन में भी आ जाता है कि कहाँ जा रहा हूँ, कैसे रहोगे ये तो वो चीज़ है. तो उस चीज़ को आपने बहुत डिटेल में बुक्स में दिया गया है. तो व्हाट इज योर टेक इन इट, मतलब कि हाउ इम्पोर्टेंट योर कर्तव्य देन योर सेंटिमेंट्स?
Definitely, Kartavya is more important than sentiment. The moment sentiment starts to rule, your intellect closes down. So, I'm not against sentiment, I'm not against emotion, but there has to be a place for everything. So, Mamta should not hinder Kartavya. Very often I see mothers who hinder the development of the child because they don't allow them to grow up at all. So that may be one of the reasons why I wrote about children growing up into what they are, because I see it around now. Children are completely made into, I don't know what, they don't even know how to fold their own clothes.
So it is important.
It is very important to grow, and that doesn't mean that you have to take away the child in you. The child in you should always be there, because there should always be wonderment, because the moment you stop wondering, then you stop growing. So that wonderment should be there, but there should be a certain dignity in what you do. So I see more often than not now adults behaving like teenagers, which is where you see that they have actually not lived through all the stages in their life properly. So it doesn't make any sense. So there has to be a dignity, you have to grow, but kartavya is beyond everything. You have to, that is an important, very important thing. Responsibility is very important. But it's not a boj, because everybody starts thinking that, oh, I have this responsibility. It's not a boj. If you get an opportunity to serve, you are blessed.
So you mentioned there was another Haveli in that book only. The one is in Banaras and the other one is in the One Pradesh. So you have mentioned about One Pradesh. वो क्या था मतलब मैंने वो पढ़ा वो बहुत बहुत ब्यूटीफुली डिस्क्राइब्ड है वन प्रदेश इट वाज लाइक अ हेवन कि मतलब वहाँ जाके अब रहना है अब ये सारी दुनिया छोड़ के वहाँ रहना है तो what was it all about and can you describe it more the One Pradesh wala part?
See, the Vana Pradesh is actually how our country was. It was full of trees, water flowing everywhere. I mean, you yourself have said how many lakes are there here. And the peace that you get when you connect to nature is something that you can't explain. When you see the akasha or you feel a breeze, these are all things that you can't explain. And that's how our country was. And if you read, I mean, Rama's journey through Dandakaranya, if you look at the description that's there, it's just amazing. So maybe some of those descriptions have rubbed off on me and that's why I wrote about Vana Pradesha like that. I mean, if you read Valmiki's Ramayana, it's like, absolutely, I mean, you can just visualize all that.
Even in the book, you can visualize the whole Haveli which was situated in the village.
Acha, the book has very little मतलब detailed descriptions of everything. Haveli का, even the persons, the art forms जो बनाया जाता था, weavers का, Vishnu temple का, and everything. Even the book involves so many action scenes also. जब वो चार वहाँ लड़ने के लिए जाते हैं, जब वो टेम्पल को बचाते हैं, तो उसमें एक्शन सीन्स इन्वॉल्व है बहुत सारे. तो do you think converting this book into a movie?
If you want to do it, I'll be more than willing.
It will become a very nice movie. It has so many emotions and action scenes. ना वो मैं when I was reading the book, I was able to picturize कि ये ऐसा होगा, इसमें ऐसा होगा, screening ऐसी होगी, direction ऐसा होगा. I was able to picturize that. I really want to कि ऐसा कोई movie आए, which will teach people that you have to protect the dharma, you have to protect the deity, otherwise the things will not be going well.
Let's see, because most of our traditional books and writing is like that. So you can visualize things very well. And that's why I prefer storytelling to story viewing. Because then you steal people of imagination. And also when you tell a child about Kaliya, Krishna's fight with Kaliya, they will only imagine as much as they can deal with. But if you show them a video of it, some of them get scared. Right? And then I've seen some of the woke people saying that, oh, mythology is full of violence. Because they basically don't understand and they're watching TV.
It is said that half knowledge is more dangerous than no knowledge. So, अच्छा, my last question that what are your inspirations in writing? मतलब reading में जो भी आप पढ़ते होंगे, apart from the inscriptions we have, any of your inspirations in writing?
Ramayana, Mahabharata.
Uh,
See, to me, our heritage literature is the most important. So if I have to go back and read it again, I'll go back and read it again. And I remember reading K.M. Munshi's Krishnavatara. I must have read it at least 15 or 20 times. Because he has made Krishna like a normal person, but not the way today they write. And the one question in that one chapter in that really stands out for me is when after Kamsa is killed and Jarasanda's army is going to come to Mathura, when Krishna is thinking to himself, what is my dharma? What is my dharma? Jarasandha is not against the people of Mathura, but he's angry with me and Balaram. So he says, I think we should run. So then he says, if I run away, they'll call me a coward. So that whole thing really held a lot of value for me, because finally what stood was his dharma. That the people should not be hurt, but he said it doesn't matter what people call me.
So many of the people sitting here are good writers, और उसके अलावा there are people who want to write books in coming years. So and there are people who really want to write fictional stories. So do you have any advice for the people who wants to write fiction, या फिर who wants to write books? Then how should we write it? How should we edit it? How should we publish it in the house?
See, about writing fiction or any writing, I think that always writing has an impact on the reader. So when we write, it's not just about writing what we think we want to write, but we have to sit on the other side and think about what is it my book is going to do to the people who are reading it. So I think there's a lot of responsibility in writing. Everybody talks about the responsibility of movie makers, but that doesn't last for very long, because you watch a movie, it's there for some time. Maybe it does impact a majority of the people too, because they'll go back to it. But a book, because you ruminate over the book more, responsible writing is very important. You can write a fiction, but like I said, it shouldn't be about, I know somebody who said, oh, it has to be where I can express myself in any which manner. Swami Chinmayananda said one thing. He said, there's a difference between freedom and licentiousness. Today we want licentiousness, not freedom. Whatever freedom, there are rules, there are boundaries. It's like I can get in the car and say, who are they to tell me that I have to stop at a red light and I want to just drive? What will happen then? I mean, that's an extreme example, but that's how serious we should take it. So, but today nobody wants rules of any sort. I know students don't want rules of any sort, people don't want rules of any sort, but when you're in samsara, there are rules, and we have to observe it. That's why we have no rules, we have no animals, we have no birds, we have no trees, we have no biodiversity. People who live in cities don't even know, I know people who don't know what the people tree is. We don't even look up at the sun. Whereas our dharma is all about the entire creation. So I don't know how many of you know what the Panchamahayajnas are. I think that's a very important framework for leading life as a Sanatana Dharma person. So if you don't know, look for the answer. Please, don't just look on the net. I'm sure Swamiji is there, he can tell you what the Panchamahayajnas are. Because that's very important. Because that's what creates a framework for life. Yes, and anything else you ask me as a writer, whatever you want to ask me. You were looking to ask it.
That's all from my side. The podium is open for discussions. If you want to ask something, you can ask. It should be brief.
As you mentioned, Van Pradesh, whenever we read our scripture, Manu and Kautilya have mentioned 7 kind of Durga, in which a particular is one Durga. Your Van Pradesh is similar with that? This is my only question.
Vanadurga is the deity of the forest. Vanapradesh is a place that is in the forest. So when you read the book, you'll know.
Thank you.
It's a hidden place. In the Haveli, you have the tunnel. You can, through the tunnel, you can go to that one place.
Now, are you going to tell them the whole story?
So anybody else has a
What kind of a transformation you want एक रीडर के मन में जो चलता है इस बुक को पढ़ने के बाद में as per एज अ राइटर मतलब आपने जो सोचा होगा कि इसको पढ़ने के बाद में कि ये चीज़ आनी चाहिए, वो क्या है?
See, I cannot rule what the reader thinks
No,
about.
but your perception behind this.
My perception is that we all learn to understand the importance of our Sanskriti, and that we have this unconditional love for our country, and that we should uphold without any selfish interest our dharma and protect the dharmis. That is very important to me. And I think we should all learn to understand that a lot of problems come when we do not embrace diversity. If Aurangzeb did whatever he did, it's because he didn't want to embrace diversity. But we want to bend over backwards in a different manner. That's our stupidity. But so in any situation, see, we have the concept of sampradaya, where we have so much of freedom. But freedom is meant for a very mature thinking society. So now sometimes I think we should have less freedom and more rules. Because I remember some youngster telling me, oh, to be a Hindu you don't have to do anything. Are? To be anything you have to do something. I mean, he meant that we don't have to do any nitya karmas, nothing has to be done. Because they have no understanding of anything. That's the whole thing now. Because we'll read some translation by some non-Indian who has no understanding, and then we think we know everything. So that's what I'd like people to take from that.
Any other question?
Thank you so much, ma'am. It is with no doubt a privilege for all of us to listen to the making of this literary marvel. Ma'am, the book has truly opened new doors of enlightenment for us. But before moving further into the session, I would like to bring one trivia to the audience. As we spectated this monolith in front of us when we were welcoming our guests, I would like to tell you about the fact of the monolith, what the monolith is. It is the largest monolith in the world dating back to the 11th century. The memento presented is built by the Perma architecture in Udaipur, MP, and is the largest Nataraj monolith present in the world.